Hello everybody, welcome back to another 7 Days to Die video. I'm the Rookie Gamer and today we are at the Test Ranch and we have got a lot to get into. Today's going to be all about the important things to do with building, as in like, what you should be using, the strengths, the weaknesses, why you shouldn't be using the bigger stuff, and my opinions on some of the other bits as well. So let's dive right into it and see what we have for today. So welcome everybody to today's video, and we're going to go in more detail about upgrading the bases and some of the effects that it has on the blocks, like what support they can have, what it takes to build stuff, and what's, in my opinion, the best kind of way to build up your base from the beginning. So without further ado, let's have a look at what we have now. Now with Alpha 18 came some changes, and here are the complete run through from the frames that you're going to be using right at the start. So if you're building your entire base in wooden frame blocks, this is the kind of progression you get. Originally it used to go, obviously, your wood frame block to your wood upgrades, and then you used to get iron and used to use iron to upgrade, and then you'd go into things like steel, and then you'd have to use rebar frames to get your concrete. Now it goes through, and cobblestone has replaced iron, which is really good because it means you can effectively upgrade 4 levels quite easy right at the start without using any iron. Obviously iron's useful for other things, obviously pretty much anything else you want to be doing later down the line is going to be using iron, so you want to try and save that. And obviously iron is also used for your rebar frames, and if you want to do steel upgrade, then you obviously need iron again for steel upgrade. So that's how it runs at the moment. That's not necessarily to say that's the only way you can go from one end to the other end. There are many ways you can do it, and there are other blocks you can use. Let's first discuss the other blocks that you can use, which is right over here. So these are all the blocks that you can use. They all have the ability to change shape. So when you've got a block out, you can hold the R key, you can choose a shape, and depending on what the material is, this is the owning block, you can obviously change more or less different shapes. So obviously the wood frame block has more choices. There are a lot more choices when you're using a sewing table. You can do things like steps and various other things like different tips and stuff like that to adjust the size of your builds and stuff like that, and obviously what you want it to look like. But this is all the ones that you get in the game at the moment that I'm aware of. If I missed any, please let me know. But these are the ones you can also upgrade as well. So we've got obviously our wood frame block, we have the flagstone block, we have the brick, we have our rebar, which most of you will be familiar with these two obviously. This is now our iron block. So you can upgrade to iron if you wish, and that's how you do it. Our owning block, and obviously our wet concrete block, which is in this baking heat has dried out. So that is the options you have in game. Let's have a look at more detail as to how we actually get these and what each one requires for crafting. Our cheapest by far is obviously our wood frame block, which just requires 2 wood. 2 wood there. Next is our flagstone block. Now I've kind of made it in sort of an order of how I think you can gain access to them, and I'll explain that why shortly. So our flagstone block, which requires 4 cobblestone. Obviously to make our 4 cobblestone we need 4 clay soil and 4 small stone. That is by far a cheaper, nicer, stronger way of building a base that looks quite appealing as well. I do like the flagstone look, as well as the look of the brick as well. As you can see, they're very different, but they do look good. Our next one is the brick, and I've put the brick here because it's fairly easy to make. You're going to need clay soil, 75 clay soil, and 12 small stone. It's starting to get expensive now, but let's face it, you're going to be digging the ground up, you're going to have plenty of clay soil, and the likelihood is you're going to get plenty of stone as well. However, you do need a forge to craft it. You're going to be wanting to look at getting the forge anyway, so this is why I placed it here, because realistically you want that. The reason why I didn't place rebar frame ahead of the brick is because a rebar frame literally takes 1 hit. Now if I get my trusty nail gun out here. And I'll... oh, apparently I shot right through it. Okay, you can just shoot right through them now. They've changed that. You used to hit them with it, so I'll get out of this. As you can see, it's got 50 health, easily broken. 1200 health. Completely gone. 500 health. This has got a lot more health out of the 4, and as you can see, still stands the test of time. However, for the rebar frames, you're going to need them anyway for your concrete. 6 iron, 1 clay soil, in a forge. That's what you need your iron for. Nice and easy to make. However, doesn't stand up to anything really. So, you know, if you want something to stand up, consider brick. Our next one is our iron frame block. The reason why I didn't put that there is actually iron frame blocks are more expensive than rebar frames. And when you come to upgrading them, they cost you a hell of a lot more. They take 18 iron and 5 clay soil. And are a little bit stronger than rebar frames. They're good for aesthetics purposes, I think. And they do look good, which I'll show you shortly. When you upgrade them, they can look quite nice. They can give you that feel. But they're still pretty weak. And you don't get much of your iron back. Our next one is an awning block. I would not suggest using an awning block for anything at all. It is cheap to make. 4 wood, 10 cloth. Cheap as in it doesn't take much. Cloth is a commodity that you don't want to be wasting by making an awning that literally does not take any damage whatsoever. It's cloth. It's like a Hessian sack with nothing in it. Useless. You can't upgrade it. That's it. And our last one is our wet concrete. The difference between a rebar frame and wet concrete is obviously the rebar frame you can place down, you can pick it back up again, you know, you can readjust what you want to do. You've got some shapes that you can make out of it. So if I get my rebar frames here, like so, and I go to shapes, you get 4 shapes. You get your standard rebar frame, your ramp, the inside corner, and pillars. That's about it. If you want a better shape, you want to be going to your wet concrete. Now, the disadvantages of using wet concrete, as soon as it's laid down, it is weaker. If I place this down here, it is 1250. When it dries, it's double. However, what you can do with it is do a hell of a lot more shapes with it. Even fancy things like that, if you really want. So just bear that in mind. It is useful to have. But once it's down, and you're going to have to dig it back up again. What I tend to do is I tend to make a plan beforehand and then place my wet concrete down to replace the rebar frames. Just worthwhile. So, that's our Hessian sack. All it is 10 concrete mix into a cement mixer. Now, if you want to know what we need, I have this here. So, to make cement, we need 12 small stone to make our cement, sorry. We then want to put the cement into our cement mixer to make concrete mix. We need 10 of them concrete mixes, not cement mixes, sorry, to make our wet concrete block. Obviously, wood is wood. To make your cobblestone, for your cobblestone upgrades later on, which I'll show you, you're going to need 1 clay soil and 1 small stone to make cobblestone rocks. You can get away with making concrete without crushed sand. So what you can do is you can actually put a small stone into your cement mixer, whiz it around, and you make crushed sand. And it's a 1-for-1. Easy as that. If you're getting plenty of stone and you're not finding much crushed sand, then go ahead and mix it up. Obviously, iron for iron. The most expensive thing that you can upgrade to is forged steel. 30 iron and 15 clay soil. Doesn't sound like much, and you're going to want plenty of forged steel. However, when you compare it with everything else, it then becomes a very expensive a piece of equipment to use, really, for upgrading your base. If you're inundated with steel, then go ahead and upgrade your base with steel. Preferably, I'd stick with concrete. We're going to have a look as to why, just a moment. Well, welcome back everybody, and we are over here now to see how you upgrade your blocks, or what process there is. We've seen the standard one, which is the one on the far left, and kind of from the standard block that you use throughout the beginning of the game through to your steel. As to using flagstones, you're basically taking out 2 of the steps. Again, with brick, you're dropping it down again. And my favourite, rebar frames, literally rebar frame to reinforced concrete to steel. If you are going to upgrade to steel, then I suggest using rebar frames. I'd suggest using rebar frames for concrete anyway, because you're skipping a process. You're not having to use concrete twice. It's reinforced. However, if you use wet concrete, which is what this represents here, you're using enough concrete that makes wet concrete. So it's one stage. Then the next stage is your upgrade. That's the advantage that has. However, this advantage is that you've got the shapes. So again, it's very similar to that. Obviously, this is what I prefer. And I'm going to show you why now. If I hit this steel block here, it's got 7,000 damage. It's nice, it's tasty. It's got 5,000. If I break this, which with the power of editing, I'm going to basically speed it up so you don't have to watch me battering this forever. I'm going to batter them both down to when they're near broken, and I'll explain why I kind of have it this way. And welcome back everybody, and as you can see we've got 2 very damaged blocks here, and I'm going to hit the final 2 to show you what happens. It goes to concrete. It completely goes. Very useful. However, I now need to upgrade this back to steel if I want to, which is going to cost me quite a bit. If we use our box here. So this is the materials we require to build steel. Now, don't get me wrong, having the extra health is great. You know, it's amazing. It drops back down to concrete. But you've got this here for every single block you make. If your base is 100 blocks big, which it's more than likely going to be a lot more, that's 30,000 iron. The clay we're not worried about too much, it's the iron. Plus you're going to use the steel for other things. So consider using something a lot cheaper, which is my favourite, which is this here. Now ignoring this section here, because that's basically what you need for the steel upgrade. All you need is that. 10 crushed sand, 130 small stone, and 1 clay soil. And 6 iron. Sorry, I forgot to add the 6 iron in there. So there's 6 more iron in there. There you go. Just so it's. There we go. So it looks right now. That's all you need. Basically, is that there? Them 4 blocks there, and you've got yourself a strong block. Yes, it does collapse like that, but I mean, for that cost, are you really that worried? That's a big jump for basically another block. So that's the reason why I don't use steel. Maybe you want to use steel, you know, it's totally up to you. There is an aesthetic purpose to it. I mean, it does look nice, and you can paint it. We get our paintbrush here. You know, there's nothing to say you can't give it a bit of a paint. It does kind of disappear with the metal, like, but, you know, there you go. Still has that steel health. So, disregarding the missing 2 here, you've got plenty of options on how you want to do it. As you can see, the awning has no upgrades. Useless, useless, useless. Don't use it, don't bother, get rid of it. Gone, boom. This is your standard one. And to get all the way up to steel is all them resources there. That's a fair amount of resources. So consider not building your main base like that. If I was building a base out of wood, I'd go to cobblestone. And I'd probably stop. Flagstone, I'd probably do the same as well. Because it's still quite a lot of resources. I don't tend to bother with brick. But brick is very useful. Consider having brick if you've got yourself a forge. It isn't too expensive. especially if you've got a lot of clay soil. If you're inundated with clay soil, consider that. I'd even possibly consider upgrading it to concrete if you wanted to. As a matter of fact, I consider both of them for concrete maybe. Every time I use this setting, because it's just perfect. If I decide to use steel, it is the cheapest by far. Iron, I would not bother using iron. That's a lot of resources to get anywhere near, anywhere decent basically. Waste of iron. And it's not that strong. It's not too bad, but it's still useless. Our awning's gone, we don't need to worry about that, and we've discussed about that as well. That's not too bad if you're using wet concrete, sorry, because you've got the option of the shapes, that's it. I'd only use that if I wanted to do fun, fancy shapes. I won't use it any other time. Okay, so we've done a kind of build, like, you know, what we want to use for building, but is there really any benefit to using a certain material? Well, that's what this is for. So as you can see here, every line is about the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I can tell you now, from experience, that 9 blocks attached to 1 block, and that's just a wood block there, is about as maximum as you're going to get for some of these. And the strength of these 9 blocks here are based on this section here, which is bedrock. Goes right down to bedrock. See our little explosion down there. As long as it has a connection to bedrock, it has bedrock strength, and then the physics side of things takes effect along the line. Now, if you're in creative mode, or if you've got yourself a single player game, you can use your debug mode. If you use your debug mode, you get all these fancy options, and you can show stability. And straight away you can see there is a distinct difference to some of these blocks. Not much of a difference, but there is a slight one, as you can see there. So these are 9 blocks wide. Let's turn our stability back off. And let's see what happens if we try adding another block to this. So we'll get our awning block back. We'll get our other block back there. So I'm going to place an awning on an awning. And it's gone. I'm going to place a wood frame block on a wood frame block. And it's gone. I'm then going to place wood on wood. And I know this is a lower wood, but it doesn't make much difference. And it's gone. Is that my cobblestone? Yeah, that's my cobblestone. What about cobblestone? Oh, now. Let's make a note of this. It's gone 1, 2, 3. That's just annoying. Let's get rid of you. Go. 4, 5. So it collapsed on 5, so you can't go that far. So you could add an extra 4 on there for cobblestone. Not bad, not bad. That's me concrete and my reinforced concrete and my steel. We'll come back to them in a moment. We will first do flagstone. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's gone. So again, we're the same as cobblestone. What about brick? Oh, hold on. The ground's supporting it. Let's just get rid of the ground so it doesn't hold it up. Okay. Let's try again. Now then. Brick's gone further. 1. Let us just look at this. Look at this. It's definitely not held up by anything. Oh, hold on. Oh, look at this. Oh, we thought we had it then, and lo and behold, the ground is holding it up. So let us just... I had a feeling... Look at it shaking. It is ready to collapse. Just so we can get an accurate look as to how many it can take, let's just take it back to just before the flagstone collapsed. This is the annoying bit when you forget to clear the ground underneath. So because the ground is attached to the bedrock, it supports it. Now, I can tell you for a fact that it will hold up to the flagstone. So I'm going to take it to the same level where the flagstone collapsed and see if it collapses when I remove the ground. Okay, where are we? Here we go. Okay. If it collapses on my face. There you go, it collapsed on my face. Okay, so yes, it is the same as the flagstone, which I thought it was. Okay, so our 3 big bad ones. Let's see how these hold up. Okay, so the first one up is concrete. So we've got up to here with our cobblestone. So let's see if we can get just as far. Let's make sure we've got nothing in the way. I just want to get these out of the way so nobody can say the plant's holding it up or something like that. But this is just normal normal concrete. I'm going to break that just so it's not in the way. Not the best thing to use, but it'll do. There we go. Nothing can hold it up. Okay, right. There you go. So it does exactly the same as cobblestone. Reinforced concrete. I'm just going to plonk normal concrete on the end of it. The reinforced bit gives it its strength. Exactly the same as cobblestone. What about steel? Surely steel's got to be doing more. Steel does more. Definitely not held up by anything. Oh, so it collapsed there. So you got a couple more blocks out of steel. And plenty of iron to grind back up. So, as you can see, there is a distinct difference between using some of the higher level stuff. Basically, once you've got to cobblestone or higher, if you want to class these as higher or the same, you're getting a lot more stability for your money. Just bear in mind that all you need to do when you're building something is build as much as you want, but occasionally just put a supporting block down. Because what you're going to do when there's no plant in the way is you're going to increase your stability across the board. So if we then go back to our show stability, you can see that the points where I've placed the blocks down is the strongest point of the building. The bit in the middle is of course the weakest point. If you start placing blocks on either side of it, you're weakening the whole structure. You're adding more weight. Now, technically this is actually adding more strength to it because it's held up on the ground here. If I take this away, and make sure you're not attached to anything as well, you can see that's holding a lot of weight, so these are not stable. As you can see, the further out you get, the less stable they get. Just bear that in mind when you're building your bases. The one thing you can do is you can mix the materials, however the weakest material will give first. So you can't put like loads of steel up and then start carrying it on with the blocks, the wooden blocks. The weight, it won't support the weight. And it'll collapse just the same. And to be fair, you won't get anything out of it, so don't bother doing it. Always remember this when you're building horde bases. Because if they take out the supporting structure, which I'm not going to dig for you because it'll take forever, but if they take out the supporting structure, the whole structure will collapse. So make sure you place plenty of areas where it's got support. The more areas it has support, then if you lose this section here, or you lose this section here, the rest is still held up by more than 1 point. I tend to go 3 points of contact. in any one area. And you'll see that in my main horde base build on my main series if you haven't already caught it. But that's it for this episode. I know it's a long one, I know it's a lot of information, but a lot of people have asked me about it, and I felt it was about right. I got it out there because Alpha 18 obviously introduced the cobblestone, and there's a few changes. Even people like myself, I didn't realize until I started upgrading. I'd be like, why does he keep asking me for rocks? And I realized cobblestone was a thing again. We've had cobblestone for a while, but it was more of an aesthetic kind of build rather than actually being that level that you build up to. So hopefully these tips will help you out. Make sure you do leave any comments in the comment section below. I have been trying to read through them all, and if there's been anything that you've been asking me, or a few people have been asking me, I've been planning videos for it and stuff like that. If there's something I haven't covered or there's something you'd like to know more about, then please let me know in the comment section below, and I'll make sure I get back to you, or I'll do another video like this. I don't mind doing videos like this. The testing ranch is for this purpose, so we can go out and test things and ruin things, and then obviously when we go to our server with our other players, then we're ready for doing what we need to do. Until next time, everybody, take care for now, and I'll see you all on the next episode. Bye bye for now.